Good afternoon, everybody. So we're going to be kicking off. It's a little bit of a fire chat panel on the hackathon, and then the last 15 minutes I'm going to reserve to announce the winners. So to start, I'm just going to give a little TLDR. We launched the hackathon as a way to really drive innovation and help other developers and core developers and to be incentivized to build on Ordinals. And we did invite, and we wanted to attract people from all different levels to participate, and it was a really good mix. We had about 40 members from 18 countries, and at the end, it generated 7 different projects that made it to the qualification phase. I do want to thank Psifour, that's here, Charlie Spears, Michael Gold, Pete from Liquidium, as well as Post Capone as judges, and Jamil from Gamma, who also couldn't be here. And as well as our sponsors for paying the cash. There's over $10,000 in prizes, and so we're super excited. I know that there are some members of the hackathon and participants that are here, and if you are, stand up. I want to say hi and see your faces. So we have Cindy from Gnome, Not a Dog, Joshua. What is your name? Jake, see, we got to see people in real life. Well, looking forward to it. If you're hiding, let me know. I won't call you out. But I think to start off, this was a public hackathon. It was just 3 weeks. So we did a few calls. We met with mentors. These guys and the judges and others in the community really participated. So I want to thank Charlie as well as the whole community at OrdCore for helping us out. Laura as well for moderating the Discord community. So to kick things off, first question, I think, what were the overall impressions of the projects and the solutions that were presented,
So this is my first hackathon being a judge. I'm not really a developer. I know who the smart developers are, and I lean on them, which is why I drag Psifour along with me everywhere. Soon he'll be dragging me along with him everywhere. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I use this term a lot, but it's kind of blue ocean as far as development in the Ordinals space. So there's a lot of low-hanging fruit because we kind of know some of the things that need to be built. But then also, because of the open nature of this, it's also blue ocean for completely new ideas which we've never seen before. And we saw some of these ideas in the hackathon. I also think that because as we've discussed ad nauseum on the stage about different kind of cultural trends in Bitcoin, those people who have not developed on Bitcoin before now have an interesting kind of open field where there's not as many traditional Bitcoin developers looking at this. And so it allows for people to kind of stumble through and get their toes wet, maybe doing their first Bitcoin thing ever. So I liked to see that happen. I just really get excited about it. And there's a lot of really cool products which will be built by people who compete in this hackathon.
Psifour?
Yeah, I thought it was excellent. It was really fun to watch people who are not developers utilizing tools that are relatively new to the ecosystem of development to basically forego needing a junior developer for some of the tasks. Specifically, AI being used for building out projects was insanely cool to see. As a full stack engineer, it's a little worrying, but I'm still excited to see it. It hasn't replaced me yet. We'll see how long that lasts. We got another couple years. And then a lot of the ideas were really interesting because they approach the ecosystem in ways that I'm incapable of because of my experiences in the ecosystem. Part of this is probably that we've had a large influx of new users of Bitcoin, as well as a new generation of Bitcoin as well, I've noticed. We had a couple younger participants who were able to come in, build on stuff, hack on stuff, and in my opinion, make the ecosystem better by being here.
I couldn't agree more. And we did, establish a few criterias as well as quality of pitch, user experience, user interface, how original or unique this project was, technical, practical, but also like the ecosystem impact. How is this contributing to the Ordinals protocol, and how is this leveraging the Ordinals theory? So based on that, what were, on your opinions against Psifour or Chris as well, what were some of the standout features that kind of, you observed during this process that was like, made you just go, wow, that there's something here, without naming projects?
Going from, I'm a verbal communicator, but I know a lot of people are communicators through their written code and their ideas. And so for me, it was the standout features were not perhaps the ideas themselves, but the way they communicated their ideas. Because we asked that you make a video describing this, and it's interesting because a lot of developers, it's pretty common to not have a super public face, but it's really cool to listen in a person and how they communicate through their words what the project is. And that's actually really interesting because sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And you can kind of make what is sometimes a banal or less compelling idea really compelling just by sheer force of energy and excitement. Because if you built it, you're probably pretty excited about it. So that's a non-answer, but I just like hearing that.
For me, it's not the projects either, it's the people behind them. Like, being in this space for a certain amount of time, you run into this situation where we kind of group into a couple different categories in Bitcoin, or in a larger scale, all of Web3 and crypto and that whole side of things. And it was nice to see fresh voices and ideas that I would have never seen a couple years ago, I don't think. I've participated in more than a few hackathons at this point, and this one was ideas that I'm not sure how I would personally implement them, but I know they have use case, and I know they'll have potentially market value for a lot of them.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And you mentioned something like some people are extrovert and some people are introvert, and that was one of the biggest challenge, right? We were doing Zoom calls, and not everyone wants to come into those Zoom calls, and some people are just typing on Discord and just hacking away. But what were some of the, a lot of people came with big, ideas, big pie in the sky type of ideas, and we kind of had to, narrow them down. But what were some of the challenges that you saw that kind of led to the submissions that we have today?
So you brought up the scale where it was not, in some cases, it was teams that didn't have the development resources to meet a goal that they could have with more development resources. And others, it's that the goal was simply too large for the time frame. But in both of these cases, the teams were always able to find a way to deliver on something and explain in a very convincing way how that piece can be used to make a greater project. I think that there's a lot of potential exhibited by that, because at the end of the day, when you go off to build these as full-fledged products, you won't be limited to 3 weeks, hopefully. If you are, you might ask whoever is backing you for a little bit more runway. But I have full faith that a lot of these could be built out and will be built out.
Yeah, one theme across several of the submissions was not full implementation, but rather designing and describing a scheme or perhaps a meta protocol. A great example is we have Ordinals, and then we have the BRC20 proposed standard. And that would be an example of, this is a protocol which lies on top of Ordinals, which lies on top of Bitcoin. And so we saw several proposals for here's a big idea of how, using ordinal theory, we can then design an additional set of rules or systems. And that's really interesting because you don't even really have to be a conventional developer for that. You have to kind of pull some of these core pieces together, but you can describe a big idea, and if you can elaborate and really think through how that all fits together, that's a hackathon submission, and that's a pretty compelling idea. So that's really cool. I like to see what goes beyond simple ordering of Satoshis.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, there is a cash price, but you can't really retire on it, right? So we try to convey this to participants that this is a segue, right? If your idea has, a purpose and you're solving a real problem, then the next steps are very natural, right? Finding a developer, finding a front-end UI person, finding, content or whatever it is, and that they should not stop at the hackathon, and this is a starting point. And before we do go into announcing, I want to cover the 7, teams that qualified for the finals, I would say. What were some, projects that impressed you or stood out for you, and you can name them and,
Yeah, so one of the first things I even think I DM'd Beezy. We were like, we should put like an ARG on Bitcoin, which is an alternate reality game. I'm a huge gamer. I remember like when Halo 3 came out, there was this whole like ARG with it or other stuff like that. I think that really kind of captures the idea of Bitcoin. And one, I believe Joshua submitted a kind of a proposal for that. That was pretty cool. And then also there was another one, Precious Block Space, which described a way to preserve memories for, say, a kid or a loved one over time on Bitcoin, and then add like a savings, like a DCA component to it. That was pretty cool. That's very in line with like Bitcoin. So those are two simple like stand ideas.
Psifour?
Yeah, so obviously Precious Memories is like, or Precious Sat. I apologize, I'm really bad with names.
We're not branding people.
Yeah. But that was a really interesting idea just because it enables something that should feel really natural once it's fully developed and presented to users. I mean, how many people keep pictures of their kids or loved ones already? The idea of being able to make that into a pseudo savings account that they can eventually have access to, in a trustless way is awesome and amazing. I will personally say I'm a huge fan of Nomi's team. Their approach to everything has just been awesome. And specifically, to be very precise, what I mean by awesome, I'm a developer that's been in blockchain, whether it's Bitcoin or Web3, for a couple of years now. And most of us got to where we are by eating gravel every day of learning. And it's really awesome to see somebody who their goal is to remove that barrier for the next generation of developers, so that way they can surpass us quickly, easily, and make potentially Bitcoin or the world better as a side effect of that. And then I forget the name of it. I believe it was Safe Ordinals.
Safe Ordinal Gallery, yeah.
Safe Ordinal Gallery. That's awesome. Like the idea of a not safe for work filter that can be applied easily across the Ordinals ecosystem without any sort of authoritarian components or undermining immutability is something that I think is a natural conclusion. It was one of the first complaints we saw raised when Ordinals were becoming, or inscriptions were becoming popular, was what happens if somebody's a bad actor? Well, the answer is you throw AI at it and remove the offending images from your front ends. You don't have to remove them from the blockchain. You don't have to do anything with that. You just don't present information you don't want presented. And I thought their approach was excellent. Their AI seemed relatively well-tuned for the most part. And I look forward to seeing that applied, hopefully on a couple different front ends in the future who are currently lacking sufficient moderation.
Yeah, those of us who had to censor in the early days bad stuff on some of these explorers, thank you very much, because I don't like having to be that person. We also had Searchnals, which searches for like comparable analogs to has this been inscribed before? Has somebody inscribed my dog before? No? Okay, I'm gonna be the first one to do it. And there's a cool DID method, which is something we've talked about. And then the BRC, I love the nomenclature, 420 and 69 proposal, or is it BRC 20? Yeah, BRC 420, 69. A really cool like interlinking encrypted scheme. So yeah, I think that's all of the submissions we get.
Yeah. And I think we can all agree that all of the 7 projects, they are still very much, there's a future for all of them, right? It's just a matter of tweaking and getting to that point. It was 3 weeks. I mean, just less than 20 days, to be honest. A lot of them kind of decided on the idea like 3 or 4 days before submission. And then they also had to, like you said, create a video and present them. So a lot of these ideas, they're all really doable. They're all, they're all accessible.
Another thing we saw, because if you've been under a rock and you haven't looked at the mempool during that 20-day submission period, it was chaos. I mean, good luck trying to like test any of your ideas out when you've got 600 sat per vbyte. So we saw, I think a handful of projects said, we were gonna do this, but then, we couldn't actually test it without going bankrupt. So we saw some interesting pivots. I actually kind of respect the pivot, especially if you're like, well, shit's not going down. So, yeah.
No, it's a good point. And just to paint the picture of how tight the scorecard were, I mean, we had about 7 criterias, 1 to 5 stars. And the difference between first, second, third, and fourth place, even fifth, I mean, these are like 0.1, 0.2. I mean, these were very, very tight, right? So a lot of them was, we had this sort of wow factor in some of them, like we mentioned some of these highlights, the decentralized identifier, the safe Ordinal gallery. It's something that we need in the ecosystem. I mean, we literally were in a call, right? And we found a very bad image that we had to cut out before I posted the Zoom recording. And that was like a perfect example of like, okay, there's a problem that you
Clear
need to
product
solve
market
today.
fit.
Do you have any numbers on how many NAs, let's say, for work images are required? Like rough percentage?
It depends on your definition of not safe for work, but I can tell there are at least dozens of things which everyone in this room would say are bad. I would say there's at least a few dozen things which everyone in the room would agree are bad. So.
A few dozen out of 7 million?
Yeah, it's a pretty good ratio though, so far.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so I do want to start. We have about, just 13 minutes or maybe less, 7 minutes. So I know some of your participants are here. I want to give a shout out to every team member, every participant from Bitcoin Ordinals, Dip Methods, Brian, Rocketbot Pro team, Not a Dog. Still don't know who you are, but you definitely clearly love cats. Know me. We have her, Cindy here as a representative. Nestor, Jay Knight, and then Joshua Larson. These are all like really awesome projects, and we do want to continue like communicating with you guys and helping get to the next point. So to get to the drum rolls, please. So we had, third place, it's a $1,500 cash prize, as well as access to the Ordinals Conference. And I know you're here. You don't have to stand up. It's all good. But if you want to say hi. Plus, there's also coaching sessions with Psifour that's going to allow us to even expand this idea. It is the BRC 42065 project.
69. Congratulations.
And do you want to just quickly explain the idea of the BRC 42069, maybe from
Okay, he made like a 15-minute video and like a whole Medium piece and the longest GitHub repository and
the Medium article.
The Medium but the pitch is, this is a protocol for ordinals. It inscribes visual output and metadata, private, immutable, secure utility, and ensures provenance across immutable points for on-chain cross-referencing of ordinals. There is like way more to it. You should go talk to him. So he could, I think he's open to it. Yeah, you should ask him more about it. It's a fascinating, in-depth conversation.
Yeah, that was very impressive, especially as we have talked, and he is not a developer, and he was able to like put this out very quickly. He was actually the last one to join the submission, so great job on not sleeping for a couple days. And I really enjoyed talking to you. I think there's a lot of ideas, and I think this is also I love the Bitcoin computer or the BVM. Like that was really awesome. I think that there's something there. So good job. let's, spend this money tonight. And just so you know, that was a 3.08. So I'm gonna go to the second place now, and that's a $2,000 cash prize, plus, again, a conference passes, as well as a coaching session with Psifour, which is worth about $1 million. More. And that was the Safe Ordinal Gallery by RocketBot Pro. And feel free to give a little.
Yeah, there's the pitch, but basically automating content before someone like us has to see it. So keeping our minds and our children safe. And yeah, this is much needed.
Yeah, and I think it was one of those examples where AI is sort of a trendy, word, but it's actually using AI technology, and it can leverage AI and APIs that already exist out there, like Google, Amazon, IBM, to bring that data over to Ordinals and filter out those bad images, And we're talking everything from, sexual to hatred to, the list goes on. So I think that is something that I'm looking very, very, very much forward to seeing it live. And they did a great job with the UI. There is a working app. So we'll be posting this up. You guys will be able to see the submissions, the videos, and even test the product, so. All right. Anything you want to add, or we can?
No, this is very fun. We love giving out money.
Not our money.
Yeah. Shout out the sponsors.
And first place, $3,000 in cash, as well as Psifour here as a mentor, access to the conference passes as well. Unfortunately, I think he was a little bit far. He couldn't be in Miami, and out of 40 people, 18 different countries, we wouldn't expect that you'd be able to fly here. So it's awesome that we actually have 4 teams that are here tonight or today. So first place was the Bitcoin Ordinals DID method, which is the decentralized identifier. Woo. And that was Brian Richer, solo hacker. He just did a phenomenal job. It's, of explaining how you can use the Bitcoin Ordinals DID method, which is BTCO, and use the Bitcoin secure blockchain in theory to create a decentralized public key infrastructure, DPKI. So very unique. And why do you think this was the most, had the highest score out of all 7, Psifour?
It was, one, being a standard. It removes a lot of the initial development burden, which is an excellent way to approach a hackathon, as well as it solves some not pressing issues in terms of Bitcoin itself, but pressing issues in terms of putting cryptography in the hands of more users, which I'm not shy about saying is a major objective of mine. So, anytime we can make things more decentralized, more trustless, and also have strong cryptography behind it, you'll find me there supporting that.
Awesome. So I do want to give a shout out to Nomi, Searchinals, Precious Block Space by Jay Knight, Nestor Campus with Searchinals, The Great Art Heist by Joshua. I mean, this guy was on every day, and I think a game, especially this type of game on Bitcoin, is something I'm looking forward to it. It is a big idea. It's just a matter of time of getting the right people to build. But, like I said, the difference from first place to 4th to 5th place, we're talking 0.2, 0.3, points. So great job, everyone.
Well,
any closing thoughts?
Well, this is super. There's going to be a lot of really cool hackathons that come out of this. There's going to be a lot of cool products that come out of this. It is probably one of the most exciting times to be a new developer on Bitcoin, and I'm here for it. I want to see more stuff built.
Yeah, and I will be providing guaranteed mentorship time to the 3 teams that were selected. The other teams, I've talked to most of you out of band. I am available. Shoot me a DM. I'll leave them open for you. I want you guys to build awesome stuff. I want you to make it something that in a couple of years I can say, yeah, I remember Joshua before he built that.
Awesome. So again, we're going to give a shout out to Gamma, our sponsor, as well as our judges, Pete, CTO of Liquidium, Psifour here, no introductions necessary, Post Capone, who couldn't be with us tonight, Michael Gold from Shadiverse, Jamil from Gamma, and Charlie Spears. So thank you very much.